everyone, and welcome to Queer Universe. It's Jenny again. Today I'm going to talk about being asexual and being in a sexual relationship. Now, as I've said before, I am married. I'm married to a cis man, and we have been married for almost 10 years. We've been together for 10 years, and our wedding anniversary will be in March. So, in several of my other videos, I've talked about how being asexual does not mean that you are not sexually active. You can be asexual and still have sex, and I've gone into some of the reasons why people do that. The reasons why people who are asexual and do not experience sexual attraction still have sex. One thing everybody always asks me once they find out that I'm asexual is, how are you married? How do you have kids? How does that work? And it's like, well, my husband and I, we have sex. We don't have sex that often. We have sex maybe twice a month. Not because I'm asexual, but because he's a truck driver and he's only home about twice a month. Being in an asexual relationship has its own challenges, but the most challenging thing for us is the typical normal relationship stuff. The communication, making sure the other person doesn't feel resentful, making sure the other person doesn't feel like one of us isn't pulling our weight. That seems to be the most difficult part about being in a relationship. Communication, talking to each other and being very, very honest with each other is absolutely fundamentally the most important thing. It's become cliche. It's communication, 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 but it's true. You need to talk. You need to be able to talk openly and honestly with each other without fear that it's going to just automatically blow up into a fight. Now, my husband and I are also fairly odd because we don't fight. We tend to discuss things without it ever becoming an argument, and we tend to back away before things become an argument. I'm not saying that's how every relationship should be. It shouldn't. Individuals react differently. That's how my husband and I, that's how our personalities tend to mesh. When it comes to being asexual in a relationship, though, there are things that need to be taken into account. You need to make sure that you know where your boundaries are and you know where your partner's boundaries are. Because if you don't know where those boundaries are, then you're going to run into trouble and hiccups. Consent is always the most important thing, and there are ways to ask for consent that don't spoil the mood. Asking, do you like what I'm doing? How do you want me to touch you? What are ways you don't want me to touch you? And doing all that kind of stuff is incredibly important. You need to make sure and do that kind of stuff. Make sure that everybody's boundaries are respected and that everybody has full enthusiastic consent. If consent is not enthusiastic, then it's not consent. Another thing for being asexual and being in a sexual relationship is to make sure that your partner understands what being asexual means and how that manifests in you. Some asexuals, as I've said in previous videos, are sex repulsed, some are sex neutral, some are sex favorable, and it just depends on the person. So again, going back to what I said before, talk about it. Explain what that means. Explain that you're not saying that you're not attracted to them, but you're not attracted to anyone. Explain romantic attraction. If you are an aromantic, asexual who is sex favorable, tell them why and how. So again, just with any relationship, being asexual means you need to talk to your partner and explain, or partners, and explain what that means for you specifically. So this has been Jenny from Queer Universe, and I hope you all have a happy Saturday.